This is the Final Lap Weekly, a show where a couple of guys talk about all things NASCAR. My name's Kerry Murphey. I'm a longtime host of all things The Final Lap. Our co-host for the show is Toby Christie, founder and editor-in-chief at TobyChristieCom and Racing America.
Isn't that crazy?
And you got the fancy hat on now.
Yeah, the fancy dancy hat right there. Check that out. Really cool. So good stuff.
Rah!
You know, my other one's took. So would you rather have rah or took? I don't know.
Depends on if you're Egyptian, I guess, or not.
Right. Isn't that like the god of sun or something?
It is. It's the sun god. See?
Yeah, that's what
You're
I thought.
learning some history here.
See? Look at that.
Now we got to change the intro. It's not just NASCAR.
We'll get there. It'll all make sense at some point. The underwater
we got some
basket
people that are
weaving,
counting.
the god stuff.
We've got some people that are counting on this being NASCAR related, and they're the sponsor of the show, so we probably should do what they're asking.
You know, that's a great point. Although at this point, if people are sponsors of the show and they've listened to a fair portion of the show, they know we delve off quite often.
Yeah, on weird stuff.
So, you know, I mean, there is that. So, you know, let's see here. So we've got tons of people on this here list. And it's really cool to see how many people continue to contribute. But let's look at the people who are our sponsors, the people that kind of go above and beyond for us. Let's start with our guy who's at the Ultimate Final Lappers tier, Max, Louisville Max, longtime player of our fantasy game. Thank you, Max. We appreciate you. We've got Devin as well at the Only Mattress Giant level tier. And sitting there on that tier with him is Joe Bike, a longtime listener of the show, longest tenured sponsor of the show. Thank you, all three of you guys. And let's get into the show now, though, Kerry.
Let's talk about New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Again, rain plaguing NASCAR, the Cup Series in general. Third Monday race of the season. They had to move this thing and they called it early. I think I woke up and sipping coffee, it was called.
Yeah, I mean, in one aspect, it's nice. You're not waiting around all day, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
sure.
It was cool. I had the rest of my Sunday to do whatever I wanted to do. Joseph was upset because he had a rare Sunday off. He had asked for a Sunday off. He had his nephew was having their 1-year-old birthday party and stuff, and he had cleared a race day off. He was all jazzed up to be missing a race, and wouldn't you know it, it got moved to Monday. So sorry about that.
He got it off.
Oh, he got the day off, but I mean, he wasn't expecting me to get it off as well. So.
Well, now you owe him one, I guess.
Well, I say he got a Sunday off. We're good.
I guess
it's all good to go.
Okay. Wow, cracking the whip.
Hey, man, you know, you picked it. I can't help that you picked the wrong one. You just picked it.
Gotcha. All right, so third one of the season for the Cup Series. Let's run things down 10-1. You got Chase Briscoe at number 10.
And, I mean, this is a solid top 10 for him, a team that really needs some good runs. They've had kind of an abysmal season. They made the playoffs last year with the win at Phoenix, and they desperately need something to kind of turn their fortunes around this year. They had the penalty earlier in the year, and it's just been a really rough go for those guys. So a solid top 10 in a place like New Hampshire maybe bodes well for them going forward.
Turning on my lighting. I forgot I had lighting. Okay. Doesn't help the audio at all, but we're trying the YouTube thing again. So
yeah, let's give it a shot this time.
Yep. Austin Dillon at number 9. I don't think I heard his name most of the day.
No, I don't think I heard him once, but at the end of the day, a really good run for Austin Dillon at a time where he also needs it pretty badly. We're closing in on the playoffs. He's another one of those guys that's had a penalty this year, and it's good to see these guys kind of coming to life now that we're in the home stretch working towards the playoffs.
Bubba Wallace, not a name unfamiliar to New Hampshire, I think.
No, and this top 10 gets him back inside the playoff cut line, so Bubba Wallace barely in the cut line, but this does elevate him where he needs to be to make it to the playoffs.
This next guy just has one name now, just going forward. It's Reddick.
What happened to the guy in 7th?
It's Denny Hamlin.
You don't like him? Oh my gosh! What is going on here?
I skipped ahead. Sorry.
Well, this one was interesting too because every time I saw it and I knew about the paint scheme he had this week with the Mavis Tire and Auto deal, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye a few times on the broadcast. It never clicked until towards the end of this thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's Hamlin. I saw the teal car and just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, that's why I forgot him.
Yeah, so there he is, P7, not bad. He's kind of one of those guys that does really well at New Hampshire, though, so you kind of expect a little better than that for Hamlin, but 7th isn't bad.
And now we've got Reddick. I forgot
Reddick.
to type in Tyler, but it sounds cool.
It does, actually. It's really cool. And another good run for him. So, I mean, 23-11, 2 top 10s in this race. Denny Hamlin's in 7th. I think the whole group there at 23-11, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah.
Between the three of them, got to be pretty happy.
They're sharing notes or something.
Something.
Brad Keselowski, not too bad there at number 5. Are they showing some signs of life?
This guy has been very close to winning this year. He's had several stretches where it's like, okay, it's coming soon. So he's zeroing in on it. He will eventually get his first win with his RFK Racing team, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's sooner rather than later. He's just been knocking on the door. Had it outrained at Atlanta, I think the long run there, he probably gets up towards the front and has a shot to win that one. They had just pitted right before all that stuff took place with the rain. I really like what I'm seeing out of Brad Keselowski. They're inside the playoff cut line by quite a bit now, and I like where we're going here with the 6 car.
Also knocking on the door, just hasn't. He's running out of races, first of all, but Kevin Harvick at number 4, running out of races in that he's retiring at the end of the year. So he's got to get a win here, I think, to, put the cherry on top.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's got to be one of those things where you're like, man, like he was so close to winning earlier in the year, right? And there were a couple of times where like, okay, this could be like a Kevin Harvick season. Way to go out with a big win and big championship potential. But yeah, we're kind of running down towards it here, and it's like, well, we'll see how he gets it. As we go down the stretch here. It just hasn't happened yet. But again, he has been running really well and finds ways to kind of gut out performances that are better than what the race was for the most part most of the day. So we'll see if Kevin Harvick can kind of wheel his way into victory lane before we get to the end of the year.
Kyle Larson at number 3. It's his 4th top 5 in the last 6 races. I didn't even think I realized that until I saw that stat.
Yeah, and he was excited for it to happen here at New Hampshire because he admits this is not one of his best racetracks. And for the majority of the day, he really wasn't there. He just kind of worked his way into a different strategy and got himself into the track position game. And once he was there, it was on.
Yeah, Joey Logano at number 2 comes up 1 spot short of the win. 9th career top 5 at New Hampshire, though.
Nice, yeah. And, I mean, this is a team that when the year started and the entire Ford camp in general thought they were all really far behind. And I know there was a lot of concern for Logano before the Atlanta win earlier in the spring that, they might be in trouble as far as trying to make it to the playoffs. So they got that win. Now, all of a sudden here in the last few weeks, I think in the last 6 races, they've got 3 finishes inside the top 3. So it feels like as we're starting to head towards that playoff push, the Ford teams, Joey Logano's and specifically, is starting to really come to life and find what they're looking for to defend that championship.
I'm going to let you grab the winner this time, and then right afterwards, we're going to hear from him. We actually have audio. I have it prepared, queued up, ready to go.
Okay. That sounded... do you really, or is that...
No, I do. So
okay.
Do your thing, and then we'll launch into the winner, and then we'll discuss.
Okay. Well, how about this? Going to victory lane, Kerry, holding the lobster at that. Martin Truex Jr., first career win in 30 starts at this track, like one of his 7 home tracks. But he finally gets it done there. So, this is his 3rd win this season, 34th career win, and it's his 2nd Monday win this season. He led 250.
That's a stat now.
That is. I mean, it's crazy. So he led 254 laps out of the 301 on the day, and just a dominating performance. And like we said, picked up the massive lobster as his trophy. I'm sure Denny Hamlin, that's why he finished 7th. He wanted nothing to do with that lobster.
Yeah, he hates that thing. He hates that thing. Let's hear from Martin. So he won both of the stages, and I guess that's the 2nd year in a row he's done winning both of the stages. Yeah,
he's done this a lot. In fact, this was the 7th time in his career that he's won both stages and the race within the same race. So he's swept entire races 7 times, which is now the all-time lead in the Cup Series. The only person that was tied with him before was Kevin Harvick with 6.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Cool.
Yeah, he's also up to 59 career stage wins now. Nobody's even close. The next highest is at 57. So Martin Truex Jr. is he's got the stage racing thing down.
Apparently. That's cool. On the exact opposite, on the flip side, Kyle Busch pounds the wall during stage 2, sending him to the garage early. He said he was just trying a different line, so I guess he won't do that again.
No, probably not. It was a rough weekend for Kyle Busch. In practice, he scraped the wall. They had to make repairs to the toe link. And qualifying, got to the 2nd round, looked like he was going to have a top 10 starting spot. Spins out, crashes during his qualifying run. They had to make repairs, had to drop to the back before the start of the race. Making his way up through there during the race, it looked like, okay, well, maybe he's got a really good car still. And then, of course, more trouble bit him. So it was a really rough week for Kyle Busch and Richard Childress Racing. But again, that's why it's a good thing to have multiple wins in your back pocket.
Yeah. I don't know how those fit there, but yeah. Had a couple of wheels falling off, I guess due to lug nut issues or whatever. Eric Almirola and Noah Gragson come to mind.
Yeah, it's weird because we hadn't had many of these here lately, so it was strange to see a little bit of a rash of those popping up this week. And for Eric Almirola, what a heartbreaker, man. Like, he had gotten the lead. He'd been running like second all race, and it was like, man, if Eric Almirola could get some breaks down the end of this thing, he might win this race and get himself in the playoffs. And when you're 27th in points and you're battling for a win, that's a big deal because that erases what was a forgettable season and turns it into a playoff run.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, while he got the lead, what was it, around, like lap 170 or something like that? I don't remember exactly what lap it was, but he got the lead. And as soon as the restart happened, the wheel fell off and he slammed right in the wall, and that was it. So a real big bummer for him.
Absolute heartbreak for Ryan Blaney, who was running up front almost the whole race. A penalty on a late pit stop. He ran over the air hose. His crew member wasn't in the box, all that other stuff. It pretty much wrecked him.
Yeah, you hate to see that kind of stuff because, man, that's a bummer. These are the things that when you look at the end of your year and you're like, man, we had one win, but we could have had like 3 or 4. Like, we really could have had a few more. So that's one of those things where you really want to kind of just execute when you have those opportunities at hand. And I know it's one of those things, running over the air hose isn't something that seems like an easy thing to plan for or anything like that, but it's one of those things that does ruin a chance to win a race.
Any thing else that comes to mind from this past Monday race?
Yeah, well, I thought it was weird because we thought Christopher Bell was going to win this thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is the New Hampshire master and everything like that, but he had such trouble on pit road all day long. His crew was just having such sluggish stops, but he kept kind of battling his way back into position. And then towards the end of this thing, just trying to get too much, just crashed it. And with 14 laps to go, and that ended the day for Christopher Bell. So bummer for him. I know he was very excited about this race and seemed like he had a really good car. Just wasn't meant to be this time around.
Yeah, for sure. We've got Pocono coming up this weekend. Pocono Raceway, the triangular racing action goes down on Sunday. Let's kick off our coverage of that by way of fantasy NASCAR with our master of such topic. We've got the Rowdy Dragon. He's waiting. He wants to get in there, and we're moving him up in the show. I don't know if you noticed that. People want him earlier.
I think people are starting to become fans. Like, that's the whole thing. They listen for just Rowdy at this. They don't care about you or I anymore.
Right. So let's get him in there. He can be the appetizer for our Pocono coverage. Let's get into Rowdy Dragon Fantasy NASCAR on the Final Lap Weekly.
Is that a mozzarella stick?
No, it's Rowdy Dragon.
Called him appetizer. I didn't know.
All right. Thanks once again to Rowdy Dragon for giving us his expertise at fantasy NASCAR. If you're playing along with us, we're having fun, but not doing so well.
Yeah, we're not doing so hot, but you know what? That's okay. We're having a great time, and it's always fun to mix it up with the listeners on the podcast and the fantasy racing game. And I had a decent performance this week. It's just I didn't catch the fact that I had Almirola in the starting lineup, and so when he crashed just a few laps before Stage 2 was over, I forgot to move him into the garage. So
I had him in there too, but I did move him. So
see, you're fortunate. You made a good decision. I was too busy writing up the crash that happened and stuff like that, and then by the time I got done with that, the stage was over and it was too late. So
all right, let's find out what's going on in the world of NASCAR racing and other forms of racing. If we dive into that as well, TobyChristieCom is the place, and now Racing America as well. Yeah,
definitely. We've got tons of stuff. How about this? This is late breaking as we're doing the show right now. Sage Karam is moving over to Sam Hunt Racing for the Xfinity race at Road America. He's been running kind of all of his Xfinity races with Alpha Prime Racing this year, but looks like he's going to move over and have another opportunity there.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. How about this, though? We've got, V8 supercars over there in Australia. We talked about Shane Van Gisbergen, who took the win at Chicago.
Yeah.
We've got another one coming up through the ranks here, Kerry. You ready for this?
Really?
Brody Kostecki will be driving the Richard Childress Racing number 33 entry at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course in August. So pretty big deal there.
How do you say that again?
Brody Kostecki.
Kostecki. Okay, I'm going to need to know that.
Yeah, so you got to be ready.
That's why I'm listening to the show.
Until we find out I butchered it too. I mean, who knows? I might have butchered
it. It could be. with our accent, our American accent, it's probably totally wrong, right?
Right. We had William Byron announce that he's going to be running another local short track race. He's been kind of mixing it up a lot in the local short track space these days. He'll be running the Battle at Berlin in a super late model, number 24 with US Radiator as the sponsor for that effort.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he still stay up on online racing? I mean, and that's how he came up through the ranks.
I mean, I would imagine he does.
Okay.
I haven't seen him. Yeah, I haven't seen him do anything. A lot of those guys will do kind of their own league stuff where it's not really a big fanfare thing. They just kind of do it on their own with all the people they know and are comfortable with.
Right.
So I'm sure he still does stuff on there. He has to.
Okay. Throwing that out there. What else we got going on in the world of NASCAR news?
Well, after his win, Martin Truex Jr. says he's bad at making decisions, big decisions at that, and still undecided on what he wants to do in 2024 and beyond. So retirement is still on the table. Coming back is also still on the table. So he'll be making that decision, he said, sometime soon. He doesn't know it yet, but when he knows, he'll let us all know.
Okay.
So if you remember last year, it's kind of like the Truex watch last year.
Yeah.
It was going on for a little while, and it felt like it went on forever, but we actually got that decision before we've gotten this year's decision. So we're further along than we were last year at this point, and we don't have a commitment from Martin Truex Jr. yet, but again, it's kind of his call.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, how do you balance that out? You're on a high. You've got 3 wins this season. You're doing pretty well. Do you want to go out on that note, or do you want to try and give it one more season and then end up like, a Jimmy Johnson? You don't want to do that, right?
No, certainly. So, I mean, the question is to me, like, had it been last year and, again, had he had the same kind of year as last year, it was a decent year, but no win,
right.
And just missed out on the playoffs, I think that would be pretty easy for me to go, okay. Like, I know I don't want to go out like that, but damn, that's 2 in a row. Like, that's probably it. This car just doesn't suit me. I got to get out of here. But you come back strong the year after that with 3 wins like he's got. He also won the Clash at the beginning of the year. He's like the guy. He's the point leader in the regular season right now. I would find that very hard to believe that if you go down through it and compete for the championship, maybe even win the championship, it would be so hard, I think, to walk away in a situation like that where you feel like, okay, this is my next big run here, because since he moved from Furniture Row Racing, he's been very good at Joe Gibbs Racing. But he's never been that guy you're like, okay, this is a championship, So if this is the year where he kind of emerges there at Joe Gibbs Racing as the guy, I find that hard to believe you'd walk away from that, because you would think you'd have a couple-year span there where you're really contending for championships again.
Well, and on the financial side, you only get one shot at this. You're at the elite level. You're making, top dollar. And once you make that decidecision, you really can't go back to that. It just doesn't work out usually. So you got to ride the wave
back on the can.
It runs out,
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't envy him either, because it's a hard decision to make, because at the same time you're worried about your own legacy and stuff like that. Do you walk away now? Do you take what you've kind of earned and say, that's it, that's my career, this is what I'm known for? Or you keep coming back, keep trying to build up a legacy even further, even deeper, try to become, if he wins a championship this year, do you come back and try to be a 3-time champion like Darrell Waltrip? Do you try to keep going until you get to 4 like Jeff Gordon? It's one of those things where it's like, it's hard. You've got these carrots dangling out in front of you, but you've also got your personal life you're trying to have and do, and it's a hard balancing act for these drivers, and I know this is a very hard decision for sure.
All right, I think it might be time to whip out the old Nimitz stick.
I think you may have a good point there.
Let's look ahead to Pocono Raceway this weekend. All the triangular racing action. We've got the solar farm off, turns 2 and 3, and there is no turn 4.
No turn 4, but I think you should say, let's be honest. Turn 1 and turn 3 are like sets of 2 turns. So I don't understand why it's not 5 turns, but whatever,
Yeah, from above it looks like a triangle, and I'm good with that. It looks like, a pool rack for the balls.
Yeah, I can see that.
A little askew, though. Let's run down the track stats for Pocono. 2.5 miles in length. The Cup race is 350 miles or 140 laps. That sounds weird to me, but okay. Reading this right off of NASCAR.
Roll.
14 degrees of banking. Turn 1, turn 2, 8, turn 3, 6. And here we go with Nimitz stick stuff. Here we go. Front stretch, 3740. Back stretch, 3055. And the short stretch, 1780. Now, the front stretch, wasn't that like, I forget now. wasn't it like 2.5 Nimitz class aircraft carriers?
We got to queue up one of those old shows where you actually did the math. We've gotten lazy over the years. We've stopped doing it.
We have.
I'm sure we can pull up old notes.
Well, I'm just going to look up how long a Nimitz class aircraft carrier is, and we can go from there, right?
I'm just going to look at my email for Nimitz, because I'm sure that's the only time I've ever seen Nimitz pop up. Yep, there we go. Yep,
you got
last year. I found it. Let's see.
Really?
And yes, so the front stretch is 3.42 Nimitz aircraft carriers.
There we go. See?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know where we came up with that unit of measurement, but it
that
seemed like
was
a
all
large...
you. That was all you.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with that one. I can't take credit for it. That was all you. It's gotten a life of its own over the years. And
if only we could give that away as a prize, but I don't know how you'd mail that.
A foldable one.
Yeah, really, it would still be in a big suitcase.
It'd be like 1,000 folds. But yeah,
the front stretch is really long, I think is the point of this.
It is very long. So 3.42 of those. I mean, that's pretty wild. So pretty cool to see.
Well, we got last year's pole sitter was Denny Hamlin, and last year's race winner was Chase Elliott. Seems like this part of the season, there's a lot of Chase Elliott wins, and he's probably hoping he can capitalize on that because he desperately needs a win.
No doubt. Now, if you remember back to last year, though, he won, but he actually finished third in the race.
What happened? I forgot.
It was Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch finished 1-2, but they both failed post-race inspection.
Oh, yeah.
And they were DQ'd. So
that's funny.
Yeah, there was a cucumber win for Chase Elliott last year. So we'll see what happens this time around.
Wow.
It'll be interesting. So, Kyle Busch is on a different team this time around as well. So a lot of things at play. We've got some people starting to get hot all of a sudden. Martin Truex Jr. is on fire. Who knows what's going to happen?
You mentioned Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin, 6 wins at this track, 4 wins for Kyle Busch.
Man, and this has been like Denny's playground for years. He should have 7 wins when you count last year. So,
right.
I mean, this is just unreal how good he's been here. He swept the place as a rookie when they had 2 races here per year. Came in as a rookie and won both. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, totally. So we got 1 race winners include when we got Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. Oh, and Truex has 2.
Yeah, so there's some good names there. Logano, like we talked about, has been getting really hot here lately.
Blaney,
Harvick,
who had a great week last week until it went, to hell with the hose.
Yeah, he got his first career win here in a duel with Kyle Busch, if I remember correctly.
There you go. So lots of multiple race winners, and like you said, last week's winner, Martin Truex, he's got 2 wins, 6 top 5s, 14 top 10s at this track. So, if momentum is a thing, you might want to look to that car.
Yeah, and Pocono is typically a place where the guys who are good, so like you look at the point standings, and typically it's those guys who have been the guys all year long that really compete well here. It takes a good car. You've got to have a lot of horsepower down the straightaways. You got to have good handling with the crazy different kinds of turns and stuff like that. There's a lot of things at play, aerodynamics and everything. So it's one of those tracks kind of like Indy where you have to kind of have the full package to be good at.
I hate to even do this.
Uh-oh.
I'm looking up the weather.
Oh, no. No. It has not been kind to us.
Wow, it's actually a location on iPhone.
Oh, that's cool. The
Pocono
Raceway? Oh, well, that's nifty.
So what do we got for this weekend? Oh, I don't see any Friday rain, but then nothing.
Okay. Well,
so we might have.
Cool.
Is there practice? I don't even know if there's practice, but qualifying and stuff might have an issue.
Yeah,
and
but
beautiful too. Wow, 76, 75, 78.
That is better than anything we've ever had lately.
Yeah.
Cool. I know Friday there's supposed to be an ARCA race as well, so we've got a lot of racing there this weekend.
So the point is I think we won't be seeing a Monday race.
I'm so glad. I'm so tired of these Monday races for sure.
So yeah, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I'm down with that. That sounds good. I like it.
All right. I think we're done with Pocono. We've got the stats. We've got the drivers.
Pocono, we are done with you.
That's exactly right. I had to print out a new schedule because the cat got to the other one.
It's cool, by the way. You've got this little phony background thing going on. And when you fold a piece of paper in front of you, it covers like your silhouette, but the rest of it cuts back in.
Right. There it
when
is.
No, hold on. Like when you pull it to the side, it takes over you and not the background.
There it is.
It's weird.
Right there, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. That's cool.
Only the YouTube audience is going to see
there
that.
It was.
So what do we got
you
next?
Missed it. That was prime right there. Whatever you just did, it did it perfectly. There it was. Yeah. See?
Okay, so I'm literally putting the paper right in front of the camera.
I love it. I love it. That's great.
All right. So that aside, should be a good weekend. I think. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So
I'm excited. I know we give Pocono a lot of grief over the years, but I really like the track because it's unique.
I was trying to avoid that, and then you brought it back in.
Well, I'm just saying I like it actually. As much as we give it grief, I really like the track, and I think we're in for a cool race, especially with the next gen car. I think it's going to have a good run.
Good napping race.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you could fall asleep. They're coming off turn 3, take your nap, and they're just about to hit turn 1 again.
And when we had 500 miles of it twice in a year, it was really something.
Checkered flag flying on the show. This has been the Final Lap Weekly. Catch us next week right here when we will recap the racing at Pocono, which is a pretty long track, and preview Richmond. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's a pretty long track at Long Pond, PA.
Is that right? Yeah, it is.
That's strange.
Very weird. I don't remember Pocono and Richmond being together, but I guess so.
Doesn't feel
all
right.
The stories in between. Toby, you and I will chat next week.
We will. It'll be a good time.
Time now for our giant list of Patreon paying people. If you'd like to join in on the giving fun, patreon.com/thefinallap.
Yes. We've got some great people here, Kerry, that have been here for a long time, and they love what we do enough to actually fork over some of their hard-earned cash to help us make this show better for the people. Helps us make improvements like getting things on YouTube. How cool is that?
Yes.
That's nifty. We've got, let's start with the guy who's the longest tenured patron of ours, Charles K. Miller. He's been here listening to this show longer than I've been around on this show. So thank you, Charles. We appreciate you. Justin Kapasenskis, he's the man. I'm sure he's pretty excited about that Kyle Larson random third place finish at a Loudon, New Hampshire race, right?
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. We've got Scott Clark, Nick Reed, Mike Hamilton, Evan Taylor, Joe Bike. We mentioned him at the top of the show, one of the sponsors of this show. Thank you, Joe. We've got James Maples II, David Reed, Peter Johansson, Troy Clark from Down Under, our Aussie buddy. I'm sure he's excited about all these supercars guys making their way to the Cup Series. We've got Simon Green from across the pond, Quentin Whitaker from Daytona, my buddy that I always meet up with down there at Daytona. Thank you, Quentin. We've got Jimmy B, Mr. Jimmy James, 1983, Robert Keene, Louisville Max, the man, the myth, the legend, and as far as the fantasy game goes, he and Rowdy Dragon are always mixing it up there at the top of the heap. We've got Lalo, and of course, Devin. So Devin, Louisville Max, Joe Bike, like we mentioned at the top of the show, are our 3 sponsors. Thank you guys, and thank you everyone on this list. And back to you, Kerry Murphy, radio legend with the Lincoln Park hat on.
That's right. Patreon.com/thefinallap. Join in on the giving fun.
And join the revolution.